Hi, I'm Mina Malik Hussain and you're watching The Coffee Table. Did you know that today, the 8th of September, is International Literacy Day? The UNESCO declared this an important day in sort of world history as early as the 60s. And we've been celebrating it every year. But what does it really mean for us in Pakistan when we talk about literacy? Over 750 million people, according to UNESCO statistics, are still illiterate in this world. And 2/3 of those people are women. So when we sort of go from global statistics as serious as those, and we come and we bring it down back home to Pakistan, where do we stand? What work is being done for literacy in Pakistan? What are we doing about adults and their literacy needs? And what's the way forward? So today what we did is that we've got 3 people who are in the trenches doing important and incredible work on adult literacy and children's literacy, and just, literacy in general. I've said literacy many times in this sentence now. So joining us today on set is Sahar Saeed, who is an educationist, Nadira, Omar, and Qamar Islam, who are both social workers and are running a fantastic school for children in their neighborhood. So hello, everybody. Welcome to the set. It's a pleasure to have all of you here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Very excited to talk about all the excellent works that all of you are doing. So Sahar, tell me a little bit about the Idara-e-Taleem-o Agahi, which is where you work.
So IT has been working in the field of education since 2000. And since then, we work in all areas of education, ranging from early childhood education to TEVIT, to private schools, low-cost private schools.
TEVIT?
Technical and vocational training program.
Okay.
So we also, whenever we have these programs to improve literacy and learning outcomes of kids, we also feel that something needs to be done for mothers as well.
Right.
So we provide them like small programs so that they can go back, do something for themselves, to empower them as well. And
so it's sort of very multifaceted work that the institute does.
Exactly.
So it's children's literacy, it's literacy for their parent, especially their mother. Then there's vocational training. So
we also conduct surveys. We also engage with government, disseminate the finding that has been conducted from survey.
Yeah.
And as per the findings, which is, we also conduct this nationwide assessment, which is the only citizen-led assessment conducted across Pakistan.
That's tremendous, because otherwise the data that we have on things like literacy and who is educated and things is the census.
Yes.
And I'm sure that it's pretty detailed, but it can't hurt to have as much information as possible when it comes to policy making. And the fact that it's citizen-led, do you feel like it sort of gives the institution greater freedom to pursue policies that are important?
So yes, it creates accountability.
Sort of free of bureaucracy is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly, and so it also creates accountability at the ground level. So when you go back to somebody and you disseminate the finding, this has been conducted by this person from your village, and these are the findings.
Yes.
So the buy-in is greater. And also when we go to the government, we tell them, these many citizens, these many citizen-led organizations and CSOs and NGOs were involved in collecting these kind of things, this kind of information, and that's how we collected. We went to the household, we went door to door. We have done this kind of assessment from child to child, and this needs to be done, and this is what we know from what we have gathered across Pakistan. So that's how we engage.
It sounds like an incredibly personal kind of endeavor.
Yeah.
Working for literacy, because literacy is that sort of thing, I imagine, like healthcare as well, that in a country like Pakistan, we have to sort of go down into neighborhoods and talk to people and go door to door, like you said. So Nadira, tell us about the school that you and Qamar Sahab and your group set up. It's been almost a year now.
Yes.
Since it began. So what sort of led you towards that? How did you identify that there was like a need in the neighborhood for this?
It's a really very, very important thing to teach illiterate kids and adults, especially adults, because children can go to school now, but we started with the adult literacy. There is no age for adult literacy. Our first batch of students were gardeners, laborers, and office tea boys.
Right.
They came after job. Their timings are 6 to 8.
Okay, so it's an evening class.
Evening class, because in the morning they have to work.
Yes. And that's something that's very important, especially for adult literacy, I imagine, is that it has to be at a time where people can actually come.
Yes. Because in the morning they work, they cannot live without work.
Of course.
And after work they come us 6 to 8, and we have a program for class 1 to 5.
Okay.
We teach them the course of class 1 to 5, Punjab textbook board course.
Okay.
And if anyone can come and study regularly about 90 days, 90 days is enough for class 5 exam.
Really? So
Yes.
in 3 months?
In 3 months, if they come regular and take interest, they can do the class 5.
So 2 hours a day
2 hours
for 3 months, and you can
Yes.
go from zero to class 5
Class
capacity.
5.
That's tremendous.
Yes.
That's amazing. I'm so excited to hear that. That's
Yes.
so, wow. And then you have people
Yes.
who have been committed and put in the work, and now they have they can read and they can write and they can do basic maths.
Yes.
Which is, I think,
because we teach them only English, Urdu and math.
Right.
Their math is very good because this is a common practice. They used to do math orally, like a vegetable man.
Quite right, yes. When you're doing the hisab and you're selling things. So
Selling things. They do 15 grocery item, they do it in a minute.
Yes. So it's, the
They
capacity
calculate
is there.
Or otherwise, it's very easy for them because their brains are mature. They are not small kids, so they do it very easily in three months. They can do it.
That's fantastic, and that's so that's so promising.
Yes.
Qamar Saab, I know that you technically are an accountant, and I'm sure that even in office spaces, there must be many employees, like you said, office boys and sort of assistants and people who are quite quick, but they're not formally educated. And your sort of group of do-gooders have set up now 16 schools in Lahore.
Yes, of course, that's a regular education.
Okay.
But the thing that we'll be talking more today concerning the literacy. In fact, one question that you have just asked, Nadira, and she was also asking me that how come that we got this idea.
Yes.
I found a boy working at a shop. I was just, I looked very intelligent, and I talked to him, and I got permission from his master that if I just put him for education, will you allow it? Maybe 2 hours.
It's
3
important
hours.
to have to ask an employer.
So I took him, he was about 10 or 12 years of age. I took him to a number of schools, including our own trust school. That's we are running.
Yes.
I am one of the trustees. We are working in that for last almost 25 years. It's the 26th year now.
Wow,
Yes.
amazing. Congratulations. That's tremendous.
Right, so we have, it's a sizable thing, of course I'll be talking. So I took it, and one thing they told me, because I was not aware of this part of the service that's required, and they conveyed that since a boy of 10 or 8 or whatever be the age, we have to put them along with the class 1 students.
Yes.
So if the class 1 students and 5 and 6 years of age and this 10 or 12 years, they normally beat them. So that's why we can't put it in that school.
Yes.
So the government school or the private school, they were not prepared. And that gave me an idea that I personally feel. So then I approached persons and Ms. Nadira and certain other persons actually who have they feel socially responsible. Those are the people to come forward. And of course, we are just a beginner, I would say. And the things are coming up very well. We initially, when we started, we have started at Court Vadava Singh. That is, of course, now adjacent to the DHA, phase 5. But when we started, of course, this is the education program.
There used to be a village there.
Yes,
it's developed now.
Very backward area.
But it's still, the village is still
a
there.
village.
Yes.
So a lot of the village children would come.
Yes.
Yes.
So we call it in our own language, this is a catchment area for us. And we can find a number of persons who are eligible to come to us.
Yes.
So, and there are, so that's why we just set up it there. And we had already a place where we were working under the Rotary platform for education, the girls' vocational sort of embroidery and other things, and some medical.
Okay, so it's a sort of twofold thing where it began as a vocational training setup. And I remember you mentioned that you were teaching girls how to sew and do embroidery.
Yes.
And there was also a dispensary, a
Yeah,
medical
yeah,
sort of
medical
yeah.
dispensary.
setup, right?
And the third part is this adult literacy program.
Yes, which has been a sort of year
Yes.
in the making. So I find it really interesting that you mentioned that the first boy that you saw was about 10 or 12 and was working in a shop. And that also sort of calls into question all the many reasons why literacy is still something that we struggle with, because it also involves other things like child labor. A 10-year-old should not be working. A 10-year-old should be in school. There's also social stigma where you can't have a 10-year-old sitting in a classroom with a 5-year-old. And of course, it's difficult, and they would sort of lack motivation to continue studying. You know, if you're a big child, and even as, do you see that with adults? I imagine that it would be the same for adults also. If someone's mother was to go to school with her child, do you have situations like that in your school?
Actually, we started adult literacy for the adults.
Right.
Now, the small children from the neighborhood, from the whole village are coming. Because this program is 100% free. No tuition fees, no, we provide all
Even
stationery,
stationery is free.
everything free.
So that word of mouth also
yeah.
spreads, and then people are like, wow. You know, this is
Now
something.
we have small students more than the adult.
Oh, that's so
They're coming and we are teaching them free. We are teaching them. They are very happy and they are
Even in
improving
that the junior students, as she's saying, there are a number of students who are not school going. So that's a thing, and a number of students we have sent now to the school. In fact, there's no fault of the children.
Yes.
In fact, their parents are not educated, and they are just lured for this thing that a boy or girl of 5 or 10, 5 or 6 or 7, she will bring something if she is employed somewhere at any tea shop or his house.
because of
So
poverty.
there's that economic consideration. We're just going to take a quick break and come back, and this is an extremely important conversation we're having, so we will see you in 1 second. Hi, welcome back to the coffee table. We're talking about adult literacy in Pakistan and all the wonderful work that is being done to combat that. So Sahar, tell me, from what I understand, literacy is defined as somebody who can, a literate person is defined as somebody who can read something from a newspaper and can do basic math.
Yes.
And can write their name. Is that also one of the
basic
factors?
literacy is all about that you can just read a simple sentence and can write your name. That is considered as basic literacy.
But isn't that a very, very low bar?
It's a very low bar. And you know that now that also Nadira was also talking about the poverty issue, and as per the constitution, it's the right of every child to go to school, but the kids are being denied. It's because of so many other reasons. It's poverty is one, and then also that girls are not allowed to go to school, and in some areas the schools are not facilitated enough. So these are the kind of problems, and we live in Punjab, which is considered to be the most prosperous province, modern, modern as well as prosperous as compared to others. But if we consider Balochistan and Sindh, and and the condition over there is much more severe.
Quite right, and because then I imagine in places like Balochistan and even up north, where it's just the geography is
differs,
and the weather is also a problem. If if your child has to sort of go on a bridge over a river and the bridge gets broken in the winter, what do? You're stranded. And I also understand that literacy is sort of measured from children to adults. So it's a very broad
kind of
category also. And within that, we have 70% of literate people in Pakistan are men, and the rest are women. And that's like a huge gap. That's a massive gap.
Yes.
So have you sort of seen in the work that ITA does, sort of what do you think are the reasons why this gap is so enormous?
So gender disparity is one thing that we continue to talk about all the time, and even we reflect that even in our surveys, in our programs. They all are they all look at everything through a gender perspective as well, because the girls are the ones that are most left out. Even if you look at enrollment figures as well, Pakistan is going to be the second after Nigeria who has the most out of school girls than boys.
So Pakistan in the world is the second after Nigeria with the most girls out of school.
Yes. So
that's huge.
So your child labor.
The world.
Yes.
okay, I'm having a moment here. And you know, and for years one has heard, you know, things like that, you have to educate women because girls are the future, girls are the ones who will raise children, and mothers need to be
mother
educated.
is the best school.
Exactly. So this is all just talk then, because it hasn't translated into more girls being in school. Like, what's going on?
So you know the problem is so you know the kind of issues and challenges that we face nowadays. It's not about access only, but when we come to access, it trickles down to whether you know the girls are going to school than boys. So you need to also factor that out. So you know if you increase enrollment, it does not matter because at the end of the day, maybe the kids are going to drop out.
Right.
So you know the problem is not only about increasing enrollment within schools only. It's also about whether the kids who are going to school, whether they will continue to go to
Quite
school,
right. So
and whether they will learn or not.
So what you're saying is it's one thing to be enrolled in school, and it's
Yes.
quite another to go to school.
To go to school daily on a daily
Regularly.
basis, regularly, because you know many kids also drop out, and then they're not able to cope up because you know in one school there are going to be 50 kids sitting together and just under one shed, and they won't be having any proper classes. And we do have that schools, and even in Punjab as well.
Yeah.
Some in far-flung areas in Hima Khan and Bahawalpur, they're not.
Which
They're
is
not
sort
too
of
many schools.
non-formal setup.
Exactly, they sit in non-formal setup. Then the teachers also having a tough time because there's just one room and they have to cater to so many kids.
Quite right. And then I imagine teacher training is also a problem. Now that you recently sort of in beginning of the year hired teachers
Yes.
to teach in your school. So was it easy to find trained people?
If we try, we can find it. And if we pay them properly, they will work good.
Right. So that
Depends
incentivizes
how
them.
much you are going to spend or your effort to find it.
Because in a lot of non-formal setups, and the difference between formal and non-formal being from, again, what I understand, and I'm sure Sahar could sort of fill in the blanks there, is that a formal setup is when you have like a classroom and you have textbooks and you have a trained teacher and there's a set timing and,
Set timing.
you know, it's sort of the
and
traditional
registered
way.
school.
It's registered.
Like morning to afternoon.
But you know, even in many districts now, many non-formal settings, even IT is also running many non-formal literacy programs for kids. So it's not about finding the right people. We do end up finding the right people because you know when you go to the field, it's amazing that you know mothers and so many other people from the village also would like to volunteer. In one program in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, we also had local Nazims also volunteering for us because they wanted to do they wanted to do something for education. So that's tremendous and incredible that you know when you actually go to the field and talk to people, they're so much interested to do something about themselves. But yes, it's more about you know it's because the kids have to go to a formal setup anyway. They can't be sitting in a non-formal setup all the time. So when they go back to the formal setup, it's about retaining them within the system. That's the problem. And we come back to this same problem that you know getting kids into school is one thing, but you know retaining them also and making them learn is another issue.
So you could start with a non-formal setup.
Yes.
Which would work, and like you said, you know, it has flexible timings. You can come in the evening.
It will
but
prepare
after
kids
a certain
also.
point, you should be in a formal
setup. They need to go back to a formal setup anyway, because they can't be in a non-formal setup.
For kids, it's really important. But the working class, they can't spend their time in the morning. They
So they have to
can't
come
get
in
the
the
admission in this age because our students are adult students are. There's no age limit.
Yes.
One is 25, one is 35, 27, and she's right. People want to study. They like, but I don't know why they are lazy or reluctant. They don't
Just
come.
maybe afraid.
Afraid.
And things happen also, you know, like somebody gets sick. You have to sort of step in because, again, poverty is such a massive issue.
That is the main problem.
And even things like menstrual hygiene has been linked to it as well. Girls don't want to go to school during certain times of the month because they're feeling nervous and they're feeling, you know, sort of awkward. And that also is a reason why girls don't go to school. And a lot of non-formal setups also incentivize parents to send children to school. You know what, some people will give you rations, for example, that if you keep sending your child, we'll give you rations for a month. You know, some places do that.
Even the government also has been doing that.
do.
Government was
These things attract a lot.
in Punjab. There was a scheme that for the girl students.
Yes,
They were paid about 200 rupees a month only for if they come to school.
They
So that's
provided
why it was a little
transport
pocket
also.
money, transport or other things, facilities.
And free
That
books
did work.
Yes, free books,
Free
and that
books,
it did work. But you
in
know, it
Punjab
has to be
system.
consistent also for a period of time to to bring a change.
So how long, ideally consistency should be forever.
Yes.
But sort of, what is the scale? Like a 5-year plan? Do we need a 10-year plan? Sort of how long should this consistency be maintained for it to translate into, like you said, higher enrollment, more college grads, more at least middle school graduates, more metric graduates?
So, you know, we do have policies in place. It's not that the policies are not there. But, you know, the corrective implementation and yes, the time frame to what extent they're implemented over a period of time is also very important. Yeah. So, you know, some policies might just remain in the books and they would never get translated because, you know, when they trickle down, there are so many other people also involved at the school level and, you know, at the district level who actually are going to be working on it. And sometimes it does not trickle down to the person who's going to be the ultimate beneficiary. So and it might start off and then it will not.
And I think trickle down is really important because education is that sort of thing where there are so many factors that go into keeping kids in school. And do you feel like, Qamar Saab, with your schools, have you seen that, is it easier to keep younger children in school as opposed to the adults?
No, not specific to your question. I'm just, of course, I'll come back to this. Okay. But I'm just saying, just to supplement what what the police have said. In fact, we need to facilitate. But the people, we need to understand that now children or now they are adults who have not gone to school, none of their fault.
Yes, this is very important. It is not their
fault. It is basically that age when they were totally handicapped, they were totally dependent. Their parents or the sponsors, they didn't take care. They were not able, maybe financially, or maybe because of lack of education or lack of other, all the social and other things, they couldn't go to the school. So this is the thing. So what I have observed is that if adequate facilities are created for the our younger generation or the elderly who have not gone to school, I personally feel the response is very reasonable. As you were just asking, talking about the our non-school going girls number, I was part of a survey that was conducted for some agency, and it was my observation that when some facilitation was provided, the number of enrollment for the girls increased. And of course, you will be surprised to know that in the rural areas, one of the very small facilitation was the provision of proper bathroom and proper walls and proper sitting area. So these small things and giving as small amount as 200 per student.
Yes.
And that increased the enrollment very reasonably in the rural area.
That's tremendous. You know, something as simple as just privacy and a bathroom.
Bathroom is very important.
Bathroom is very
really
important. Yeah,
so that was observed that in the rural areas, these very, very basic, the boys do not take care of these things, but of course girls
do. It's very important for them.
It's very important for them.
And boundary wall as well. The concept of boundary wall.
They want
and
it's very important for girls.
Having privacy, because if you're leaving the house to go and study, you don't want to feel. I'm sure it's already a little frightening for a sheltered girl to do that. But if they go to a school where they feel safe, like home, then they'd want to carry on.
And again, regarding the adult literacy, I feel that there is a tremendous scope and opportunity if we take more interest in this. I personally feel there are many people who may be looking for such an opportunity. They want to do good for the humanity. I personally feel this is one opportunity. There are many people, and very small work that we have started just a year back. And initially, can you imagine that we got only 2 students and who are all working with as attendant in one of the organization that we knew. So they sent that to 2 of our attendants. They are they were just illiterate totally. So they just started the classes. Now the people who are working on daily wage, except when they are not, and they are between 8 to 20 to 30.
Okay,
they
so
are coming. They have started. They have started coming to us, and sometimes they are so tired, but still in the evening. So that's why we have, as Nadira said, that we are running the school from 4 to 8. From 4 to 6, it's for the children, and from 6 to 8, it's for the elders.
For the adults, and even though they're exhausted, they're still coming.
They still come, and they take a lot of interest. On Saturday, we are off. Honestly. Sometimes they are there on the Saturday also.
Yes, and we want to do a class. Let's have class.
And they feel very proud.
And they
should. You can read the newspaper
You know, because it's also about human dignity.
Yes.
You know, it's feeling
I
like
can read and I can write.
More
I can read, I
confident
can
and
write
very
myself, I
happy,
can do
they
this.
feel proud.
Yes, of course. A lot of confidence one gains.
Yes.
Absolutely, and it's, you know, even things like you feel like you're in control of your life. You know, you can read a medicine bottle. You know,
Yes,
you can
yes.
read the newspaper. You know what's going on in the
Yeah.
world. You can do basic math. You know, it's sort of it's so empowering to have a pen in your hand and say, you know, I know what to do.
The world is open to them now.
Yes,
And you know, the
absolutely.
internet
And
usage also.
We're just going to take like a very short break because this is a fabulous conversation that we're having, and I'm really happy to hear it. And we will take a very quick break and come back very soon. Hi, welcome back to the coffee table. We're still talking about literacy. She sells. Anyway, we're still talking about adult literacy, and we're going to talk a little bit more about success stories and all the sort of things that we can also do to help people around us and create awareness. So tell me, Sofa, I feel like the total allocation that education gets in this country from our GDP is 2.4%, which is very, very small. It is nothing, you know. And there's so much potential here, and there's so many people who are so bright, and people who can't read and write and are still making their way in the world. Like Nadira, tell me about your driver. It's a very good story. I want you to tell it.
He can't read and write. His younger brother was matric student, and once I saw his message on my phone, okay, I will be late, but in Roman Urdu,
Yes.
Roman English.
Yes.
So his brother teach him ABCD alphabets and teach him how to write with Urdu, make sounds. So he started writing messages, text messages. Very nice text messages.
Wow. And it just took one metric pass brother to be able to give him the kind of really basic, rudimentary information.
Basic. I think 1 hour,
Yeah.
one day teaching, and he was very good in it.
Wow.
messaging.
And that's so
They
great.
are very intelligent. People are very intelligent. We should create more and more awareness, and we should finish this taboo. They feel sometimes they feel shy. Ki we are adult.
Yes.
We will sit like a kid. We will study. They feel shy.
Yes.
We should create more awareness and finish
That's
this.
very important. That's very important.
Yes.
Because maybe a lot of people would also feel that, you know, studying is what children do. And as
They
an
feel
adult,
shy.
I can't do it anymore. My
Yes.
time has passed now for it.
Yes.
But there's always a time. You can
Yes.
always go back.
For
school.
education, all time.
You know, any time is a good time.
And also,
Yes.
Mina, it's very interesting to see that, you know, people who have started using mobile phones, started using WhatsApp and SMS, and people who are on social media, you know, everybody is now.
Yes.
If, you know, and they're all the time using phones, especially, you know, this class when we, you know, we look at our maids and the servants and the drivers, they're all the time using mobile phones.
That's right.
And that's how,
a
you know,
lot
they're
of them
trying to
can't read and write.
Exactly, but they're on the phone all the time. They're using it. That's how, you know,
Using it.
maybe, you know, that's an incentive for them as well, that, you know, they need to read or write or basic things so that they can be on it. They can be able to use it.
And in spite of not having sort of any kind of formal educational training, they're still able to figure it out. And sort of, you know, work their way around it. And I know that, for example, like I've had house help who could just recognize the alphabet. She couldn't read them, but she could recognize the alphabet. So she knew that this was my number and this was her mother's number.
Yes,
because she just sort of recognized the characters.
Yes.
And was able to say, okay, you know, I can phone this person, or I can phone.
It's very interesting.
Our experience in the adult literacy is that, of course, on Urdu and English, the teacher has to work a little more.
Yes.
But on math, he says that we have to work a little less.
Yes.
Because it's easy for them to add, subtract, understand the figure.
Absolutely, he's so right that, you know, people who are sitting at the shops, you know, if we get a kid in our schools who's sitting at a shop, he'll be able to do maths all by himself. Because, you know, he's doing that, you know, if somebody is going to give me 10 rupees, how much more or less am I going to give him back? So and they already know about maths. It's not that difficult for them. But yes, when it comes to Urdu and of course English is another language altogether for them. So that is where, you know, the effort is needed.
Yes, yeah, very good.
So do you think that there's also a sort of, can vocational training and sort of school training, sort of school, sort of be blended? Because a lot of times people do what I'm sort of trying to clumsily ask is that, can you conduct vocational training if people are illiterate? Is it successful? Like, in your experience,
Yes.
You can manage. So you can learn a skill, but still be literate.
And you know,
And yes,
ideally, it
it's
is
very
important.
easy. It depends your IQ or your interest. Even if they are not educated, they can learn so many things. So many things.
But I imagine that being able to read would sort of improve and deepen that skill and make them eligible for better jobs and better outcomes. Also, Sahar, you were saying something.
No, I was just trying to add that here, ideally this should be blended together because, you know, because people who are living in rural areas, they might not get good jobs once they graduate or, you know, when they, you know, matriculate or do something like that. But, you know, it's very important if they have learned a skill, they can find themselves a job, which is very important even for girls. So, you know, when we also go to a village, we organize these small kind of vocational training programs for them, which is around makeup or around tailoring, and that's how they feel empowered. So if these kind of activities are included within, you know, even within the regular class period, there's also an exercise period which is supposed for them, and even in government schools, you know. But even apart from that, if 1 hour is added, you know, if something else is also taught to them, because we do have non-formal centers, we do have non-formal education department also formally in each and every province. So if we utilize that, bring everybody on board, and that's also a main concern, that every department is going to be working in silos, and they need to be connected also to bring a change. Unless and until they do not come on one board, they will not be able to tackle all the problems and the challenges that the sector is facing altogether.
So why is everybody working separately?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Shouldn't we have one kind of umbrella
one
organization?
kind of umbrella organization
It's really
that
good.
needs to
It's
be
really
bringing them under
very
one roof.
important because everyone cannot continue their education because of their poverty or restrictions. If they're learning stitching, embroidery, anything else, they can, if they finish their study or discontinue their study,
at least they have that
they
thing
can
to fall
have
back on.
this education.
But I feel like if we were to sort of blend them, sort of even make it compulsory to do it side by side, then it would be a sort of a doubly rewarding experience, and maybe it would also
in
be
little time.
And also be incentivizing.
Exactly.
Incentivizing also at the same time, because they know that, you know, once they graduate, they're going to land themselves a good job. They will be working, they will be earning something. And then the problem also, child labor might come to an end as well, because, you know, the kids will know that they do not need to work at the shop, and they do not need to go and pick garbage or do something like that. They will need a skill. They have a skill, they can work.
Exactly, because your future expands. And I think this is also, it's really important as employers to not hire children. And if you have people in your households or in your offices, and, you know, institutions like Literate Pakistan runs these CSR programs for companies who have set up schools in factories, and they have workers who go to school and also work, and it's sort of statistically proven that your workers' output increases with their literacy. And at the same time, if we could sort of combine vocational and educational training, then it would be incentivizing, it would keep people longer in
within
school,
schools,
I imagine, as well.
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That would be
And, you know, parents
helpful.
also will not need in kind of an awareness campaign, because, you know, right now we need to change the mindset of people.
Yes.
The government schools are for free, and they also provide stationery. But the point is that still, you know, there are so many other kids who are still not going to school, and what is the problem? So if the kids or the parents will know that, you know, if my child is going to go to school, he'll also be learning a skill.
Yes.
So, you know, they will send that, of course, school is for free. The child is sitting here for free as well. Why can't he just go to school and learn a skill, and maybe he'll be earning more money?
Yes,
So
because a lot of
that's the kind of mindset
Yes.
that we need to, you know.
Training is it's very good idea.
We are offering at
we
our
blend.
Court Housing Center, we are offering this facility to the girls. But of course, you can say just a chance that for girls coming to the vocational setup, most of them, they are literate. At least they have done the class 5 or little more. So, but of course, if there are any of the girls need that sort of thing. But now, I personally feel that the girls who will come to us for literacy plan, we shall be offering her this vocational training.
I think we should make it compulsory.
We shall make it.
Yes,
really.
I think that would be really great, because then you would sort of, you know, that at least for the 2 or 3 years that you have people for vocational training, you will sort of really get the ABCs and Alif Bay into them as well.
Yes.
That would be really interesting. Do you feel like more girls seek vocational training than boys?
Well, we at our setup we have
girls
for girls
vocational.
only.
For girls.
Huh.
We have stitching program, embroidery program. We have for girls.
We also work
And
with
now
girls
we are
more.
going to start literacy program, adult literacy program for the girls
women.
too. For women and girls.
Because so far it's
Big
been
girls
men,
used to
older
go.
girls.
Yes, older girls used to come for stitching. So
Because it's sort of, it makes me think that a lot of women undertake vocational training, but they can still be illiterate and not be able to read and write. So in a way, you're only prioritizing women improving themselves
Yes.
if it means that they can make money.
And they also need to be empowered also, na? That's why girls will be more interested because, you know, when they work in the house, because that's typical of them.
Yes.
But if they have a skill, because boys will go out of the house anyway. That's mandatory from them. They can't be sitting. So they'll learn a skill one way or the other.
They'll
They'll
be
sit in one
apprenticed
shop.
to somebody
Yeah,
and-
yeah. They'll learn it one way or the other. But for girls, it's also very important, and that's how they are more interested, you know, in learning something.
And it's so ironic to me that when you see government school statistics, for example, the girls in schools are doing consistently much better than the
Yes.
boys.
Yes.
But at the same time, there's still this huge literacy gap. So obviously, I was like, what kind of policies do we need to actively address this? What can we do? I know that starting from the home, one can at least send one's house help to school or to a class or this sort of, you know, evening program. If there is one in the neighborhood, one can sort of send their staff there.
Just if you like, I feel that the girls are always more serious in attaining, yes, than the boys.
Why do you think that is?
But just saying one thing. That that's why you see the results here. Punjab, I personally feel all over Pakistan it was the same thing. The real thing is the social. I personally feel that at that end we need to work.
Right.
That's beyond education. That any girl who comes to the school, she behaves and her attitude is much better than the boys of same age.
They're more serious, they're more disciplined, they're more focused.
But look at the results now we are getting in Pakistan.
Yes. Yes, that's true. Across the board, girls are consistently doing better.
So we also need to have more girls' school than boys, you know, because you know some girls might not be in some
Attendance is
areas,
better.
might not be comfortable in going to a
Yes.
co-ed school. So that's also very important, especially in the rural areas, that we have more girls' schools.
So we have to keep a lot of these very sort of
various factors in mind.
social factors are the
Yes.
ones that we really need to focus on. Even maybe more than textbooks and, you know, sort of teacher training. If you start here and then you kind of work your way up. And even with teachers, you know, a lot of women teach, but a lot of women then also have women's commitments and women's issues that then I'm sure a lot of teachers then also stop teaching as well. A lot of people teach just as a sort of temporary measure till they get married. So it's a very sort of complex conversation.
But still you feel that those girls teachers, lady teachers are available. And I personally feel there may be statistics more with you. I think 80% of the teachers till class 10, they are the women, not
The women.
because
They're women. So so for a sphere in which there are so many women, I think, I suppose, and I'm just sort of, again, I'm not a policy person, but I'm just now sort of thinking out loud that we need more women making policy as
And we
well.
need to capitalize them as well, you know, because there's a huge, and they can also create a multiplier effect. So, you
What's
know,
a multiplier effect?
multipliers that, you know, you educate one woman and, you know, they go back, they're going to be teaching and they're going to be doing stuff and bringing something back to the economy. So that's how you multiply. So you start with one factor and then you know that, you know, this is going to multiply and add results.
And you know, Nadir mentioned something about paying your teachers as well. And I feel like that is crucial.
That is very important.
Because
That is very important.
as a society, if we value teachers, then they will be better at their jobs, and
Better
they
at
will
their jobs.
more people will want to be teachers. Existing teachers
Yes.
will do better, and
Better.
sort of the more the better, really.
Why people wants to become doctor and engineer? Because they get more money.
Yes.
If we give teachers good amount of money, most of the good people, intelligent people, die-hearted people, they will come to the teaching, and we should give them more respect. Teaching,
More respect.
respect.
You know, across the world, teaching is such a, you know,
noble-
recognized profession. It's-
Yes, noble.
So even in
profession.
Pakistan, it should be.
Right,
recognized
we
and
even have a
respected.
sort of,
I personally feel in Pakistan, it is one of the respected professions.
Yes.
it's respected,
it
but
is
it's not
respected.
paid well.
Yeah, it's not paid.
Paying,
So respect is very important, but you also have to pay your
yes.
own bills, and a
Yes.
lot of empowerment has to do directly with finances as well. You could be very educated, but if your job is very mediocre, then that's a problem too. So, I was talking about CSR and corporations and, businesses who set up schools on their sort of factory premises, for example. So but that's something that they do voluntarily. So do you think that there's space here where it should the government should step in about
it's
this?
not voluntarily, it should be must. They should allow to start their business or giving them license for the factory when they fulfill this promise. Okay, they will teach the adult laborers for 1 hour.
That's such a good idea.
Because they after a long duty
Yes.
in factories and in any offices, they don't have energy and time to go to the school.
Yes. Yes. So
Even
if there's
it is
a
in the-
school where they work
On the premises of the factory or
Yes.
offices, they should give 1 hour to the employees and to teach them.
I think that would be amazing. And again, even if you just think of it in terms of just plain economics, a better educated workforce is a more efficient workforce. And this is where I think it's important, because this is something that a government can do, because you
Government
can't
can
just
do
leave it
because
to a
government
company.
can force them.
Exactly, because if a company chooses to do it out of the goodness of their heart, then that's great. But if it becomes policy, and it becomes mandatory, then that would just be tremendous, because you have a huge workforce.
Yes.
And again, it would be good for data collection as well, because you'd automatically find out how many thousands of people in the workforce
Yes.
are illiterate, and then what is being done.
Yeah, and if they are learning, to what extent are they learning,
And
whether
then
they're
it can be
contributing.
monitored
Of course.
through those corporations as well.
Of course.
And reward them with the small certificate. They will be very happy
At the end of the
and
day.
feel
Wow.
proud.
Yeah.
And maybe the government can have incentives for companies also, some kind of tax break or something.
Yes.
That if you can show after a year this sort of increase in literacy in your employees,
Yes.
then you get some kind of bonus or some kind of reward.
Reward.
So
I think
that's
that
how
would
you
be
bring
amazing.
different
That is-
departments all
that-
together,
that
and they
is
will
very
bring the
important.
change.
Because many people work in factories.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And it's an existing framework, and they're registered companies, and then you can just pull out your list and be like, tick, 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 tick,
Yes.
you can track that progress.
Of course.
That's a really good idea.
Even if some extra tax benefit is given, I personally feel without making it mandatory, people may be attracted to that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Will
I think that would be
affect
very
the
effective. A
owners.
very good idea. Government people, are you listening, watching this show? Thank you, all of you, for being on the show with me today, and for the amazing work that all of you are doing, sort of as one Pakistani to another. Thank you very much, because this is the future. And again, we were talking about this before, there's just so much to be done. And you don't necessarily have to be a trained educationist or somebody with a degree in it. You just have to have a big heart and to be committed and to sort of want good things to happen for the future. And this is the future, not just for our children, but for our adults and all of us as a nation. So thank you again, all of you. Thank you guys for watching. It's been wonderful. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. And we will see you next time on The Coffee Table. Bye now.